What kind of monster locks a 10-year-old girl in a dog cage over a chair? That's the question I was screaming inside when I saw my granddaughter, Emma, trembling behind rusted bars, her pink sneakers barely touching the ground. This wasn't just a neighborhood picnic gone wrong. This was a war, and Sandra Mitchell, the HOA's self-anointed queen, had just fired the first shot. She thought she'd won, smirking with her clipboard clutched like a scepter, her blood-red lipstick staining the air with smugness. She thought no one would dare challenge her. She was dead wrong. It was supposed to be a community day at the park, but the second we arrived, I felt the tension. Banners didn't welcome you, they barked orders. No drinks outside the marked zone. Stay off the center lawn. Reserved seating only, no exceptions. Emma, my little ray of sunshine, didn't notice. At 10, she still saw ice cream trucks and face painting as proof the world was kind. I wanted to keep it that way, but Sandra's shadow loomed large. She stood by the main stage, her white pantsuit pristine, her oversized sunglasses scanning the crowd like a hawk hunting prey. Her clipboard wasn't a tool, it was a weapon, and she wielded it with a smile sharper than a knife. I nodded her way, trying to keep the peace. She didn't nod back, just stared like I dirted her perfect world. Emma tugged my hand. "Grandpa, can I see the bunnies?" Her voice was all hope, and I couldn't say no. "Stay where I can see you," I said, watching her dart off, her ponytail bouncing. But my eyes never left Sandra. I saw her snap at a teen for mismatched socks, swat a balloon from a toddler's grip, scribble on her clipboard like she was drafting a death warrant. She didn't run this neighborhood, she hunted it. Every rule was a noose, tightening around us all. I told myself I'd stay CIVYL. But deep down, I knew something was about to break. The sun beat down, heavy as guilt, and families huddled in the shade, forcing smiles under Sandra's indecisible grip. Emma flitted between booths, her sneakers flashing against the pavement. She was tough but trusting, and that trust was her weakness. Then I saw them rows of white folding chairs under a marquee, each tagged with a sign, HOA board members only. Empty, sterile, like a throne no one dared touch. Emma didn't see the signs. She was tired, her cheeks flushed from the heat. She wandered over, wiped her forehead, and sank into one of those sacred chairs, small and harmless, like a sparrow landing where it didn't belong. Sandra saw it. Her sunglasses glinted, cold and calculating, and she charged across the lawn, heels stabbing the grass. "Get up!" she hissed, her voice cutting sharper than the PA system. Emma jolted upright. "I'm sorry," she stammered. Sandra didn't wait. She grabbed Emma's wrist, hard enough to make her wince, and yanked her out of the chair. Her clipboard hit the grass with a thud as she dragged Emma across the square. "Hey!" I shouted, pushing forward, but the crowd was thick, slow, stunned. Sandra didn't stop. She hauled Emma toward the pet show corner, where animal cages sat in a neat row. My blood froze. Before I could reach them, Sandra flung open a dog cage, shoved Emma inside like she was garbage, and slammed the door. The lock clicked, louder than the music, louder than the kids' laughter. Sandra straightened, brushing her blazer like she'd touched something virile. "Maybe now she'll learn," she announced to the crowd. "Rules aren't optional." Emma huddled inside, fist pressed to her mouth, shaking. Sandra didn't even look at her. She snatched her clipboard and smirked. I saw red, not anger, but a promise. The kind that ends with someone crawling through the dirt they thought they ruled. If you saw a grown woman cage your kid, would you stand there, frozen like the others, or move? I didn't wait. I tore through the crowd, ignoring their gasps, their calls for calm. There was no calm. Not when Emma was sobbing in a dog cage, humiliated, while Sandra strutted like a vulture. I reached the cage in 3 strides. Emma's tear-streaked face looked up, pleading. Something in me snapped, clean and final, like a rope stretched too far. I slammed my boot against the lock. It rattled but held. Sandra spun, smirking. "That's HOA property," she barked. "Touch it, and you're liable." I didn't blink. I kicked again, harder. The lock groaned. People backed up, whispering, pulling out phones. Good. Let them see. Sandra stepped closer, venom dripping. You'll regret this. I'll have you banned. My third kick shattered the lock. The door flew open, slamming the frame with a clang. I dropped to one knee, scooped Emma into my arms. Her heart pounded against me. You're safe, baby, I whispered. She's not touching you again. I stood, setting Emma behind me, shielding her, and turned. Sandra was still barking orders, waving at HOA volunteers like they were her soldiers. Restrain him, she shrieked. He's vandalizing. Trespassing. I took one heavy step forward. Sandra stumbled back, eyes wide. I didn't yell. My voice was low, sharp, a blade in the quiet. You think a badge lets you cage a kid? Another step. You think a clipboard makes you untouchable? Her clipboard slipped from her trembling hand. You think rules are your shield? You just turned them into a noose. She backed into open space, no allies, no power. The crowd's silence was louder than any siren. I pointed at the broken cage, the lock dangling like a snapped chain. You built a prison today, Sandra. But prisons work both ways. She flinched, blinking fast, realizing too late she'd crossed a line no clipboard could erase. Emma's sobs quieted behind me. Sandra stood frozen, a queen without a crown, about to face judgment. I could have stopped there. The crowd's glares were punishment enough. But Sandra didn't deserve mercy she'd never shown. Emma deserved justice raw, undeniable. I grabbed Sandra's wrists before she could slip away. She shrieked, clawing at me, but I held firm. Let go, you thug! You'll be arrested! I yanked her toward the cage, not hard enough to hurt, but enough to shatter her illusions. Her heels skidded as I dragged her to the battered kennel. She flailed, weak and wild, used to power bending to her will. Not today. At the cage's mouth, I let go. She stumbled, falling to her knees. She tried crawling back, but I stepped in her path, a silent wall. Crawl, I said, pointing to the open door. Her eyes widened in horror. You can't make me! I leaned close, my fury a heat she could feel. You caged a child. Now you get a taste. Her mouth opened and no sound came. The crowd's silence swallowed her. Phones filmed every breath. She saw it, knew there was no escape. Trembling, Sandra lowered herself, crawling into the cage like a fallen tyrant. She hesitated. Move! I snapped. She whimpered, squeezing into the tight space, her pantsuit wrinkling, her hair limp. I kicked the door shut with a clang. No lock needed, fear did the job. I stood, staring, not gloating, letting her drown in shame. Emma stood taller. The crowd stood straighter. The silence wasn't fear, Anna Marie, it was freedom. Sandra was nothing without her tactics, just a coward in a crumpled suit. The crowd thickened, murmuring, not nervously, but with anger, with vindication. I faced them, my voice cutting the air. This is the woman who caged a child for sitting in a chair. Sandra banged the bars, shrieking. He assaulted me! Arrest him! No one moved. Not her volunteers, not the rent-a-cop. A few stepped closer to me. You locked up a 10-year-old, I growled, towering over her. You humiliated her. Called it a lesson. How's the lesson feel now? Sandra whimpered, curling up. The crowd's voices rose. Disgusting. She deserves worse. Call the news. Sandra gripped the bars, shaking her head. I was enforcing rules. It's not my fault people can't follow them. I stared, contempt cold as steel. Rules don't make you right. They just make you easier to hide behind. A boy, maybe 6, pointed. Is that the bad lady? His mom nodded. Sandra's reign ended then not with handcuffs, but with 100 cold stares. She gasped. This is a misunderstanding. I was protecting standards. I stepped closer. You didn't protect anything. You caged a girl because your ego couldn't handle a chair. A man spoke up, calm but furious. You fined me $500 for a toy on my lawn. A woman added. You banned my son from the playground for sneakers. Voices grew, a storm breaking free. Sandra slammed the bars. I did my duty. You're ungrateful. Without me, this place would collapse. I bent down, eyes locked through the bars. No, Sandra. Without you, this place might breathe. The crowd chanted. Step down! Step down! Sandra lunged at the door, but it held. She screamed. I am the HOA! I am the law! I straightened. Not anymore. The chants drowned her. She slumped, her spirit crumbling faster than her voice. Fear had changed sides. I faced the crowd. Everyone wronged, silenced, fine step forward. Dozens moved, Sandra whimpering as her kingdom fell. We don't need her rules, I said. We rebuild without her. A woman dialed the city council. A lawyer nodded grimly. Sandra pounded the bars. You can't. I'm the president. I cut her off. You had a duty and used it like a weapon. Rights don't protect tyrants. Someone burned HOA bylaws, the flames a funeral for Sandra's reign. The lawyer spoke. You're under investigation for civil rights violations, misappropriation of funds, unlawful detainment. He nodded at Emma, now fearless. Petitions formed to dissolve the board, call re-elections. Sandra's paper fortress burned. Her fear was gone. She whispered, You'll regret this. I stared down. No, Sandra. You will. The crowd moved on, not with mercy, but purpose, drafting signatures, planning audits, banning Sandra forever. She stopped struggling, shoulders sagged, defeated. Her power was never real, just fear, and fear was gone. A week later, the park felt alive. Smiles were real, kids ran free. The cage, once a symbol of shame, was now a monument, its plaque gleaming. Saw here, we set ourselves free. Not cage each other. Saw Emma place 2 white flowers at its base, her silence louder than any speech. I spoke, voice steady. A week ago, this was shame. Today, it's a reminder fear only wins if we let it. Strength isn't fines or fences. It's here. I tapped my chest, then gestured to the crowd. They clapped, raw, genuine, for themselves, for standing tall. Emma slipped her hand into mine. We didn't just free me, Grandpa. We freed everyone. I squeezed her hand, chest tight. Yeah, kiddo. We damn sure did. We walked away, the plaque shimmering like a vow. Tyranny falls when you stand between it and those it tries to crush. That day, we didn't just free a girl. We freed ourselves.